So welcome to Socially Good Talks. I'm John Gilbert from Eskimosoup, and I'm in conversation with young people and workers from the Goodwin Development Trust who are going to share with us the why, the how, and the what was learned from creating a 3-day live streamed festival called the Summer Shutdown Fest, which was made during the COVID-19 lockdown. Before we get into the discussion, here's a quick taste of what the team created. So you've just had a bit of a taste of it there, and we're going to then hand over to the team. But we're going to start with Tom. So Tom, you've worked on this as a key worker at the Do It project, a Goodwin Development project, and I know you guys do lots of different things, but this was quite a challenge. So I guess my question is, why did you collectively choose to take it on?
Well, I mean, my job generally, and the job of the project is to support young people between the ages of 16 and 29 that are unemployed to get back into work. For a lot of the people that we work with, formal education hasn't worked, or they're looking for something different. So the way that we get people ready for that is to use like a holistic approach into looking at someone's well-being, like it would be your housing needs met, benefits, relationships, that kind of stuff. But also to offer different creative opportunities. We get Arts Council funding as well as funding from the European Union. So with lockdown happening, of course, that's thrown a spanner in the works. But we acted really quite quickly to it generally as a team and set up everybody on Zoom. But we were, quite early on, we was having these Zoom meetings, and it felt, from our perspective at least, that there was no real substance to them. There's benefit to just having the catch-ups, but where's the substance? So we talked a bit about working on a project, and we was umming and ahhing about that. And then we thought, oh, let's try and do an online festival. And we really wanted to push it and try and be ambitious. And it certainly was that, because we've got some experience in events management, but we're not back to ours. We're not the sesh. But I think for us, it's about, learning along the way, both as practitioners and for the young people that we work with. And yeah, it was about working on something meaningful during what was a really chaotic period.
Okay, so Matthew, you were one of the young people that we've just been hearing about there. So how was that experience for you, and how did it feel when you decided that you were going to do something that nobody on the team had ever done before?
It's quite a good question, because I guess nervous, because as you said, we've never really done anything so professional, but I was like happy as well, because from me personally, I didn't know what I was going to do when lockdown came on, because I started on a placement with Youth Art Takeover, so, and I didn't know if that would continue, what I would do with lockdown. So I think doing this gave me a sense of purpose, and also gave me something to do along with being able to continue my placement.
Excellent, thank you. So Katie, you were also a young person on the project. How did this thing start? Did it feel like there was a change from it just being an idea to being something that became very real soon? And what was it like for you, and how did you find it as an experience?
Well, I think it did make a big change going from an idea to actually being real, because it was just like a very small idea at the start. But it happened, so yeah.
I guess sometimes with these things, Katie, it's like you can have the meetings on Zoom, and when you're talking about an idea is great because there's no real pressure. It's just exciting. You only talk about the positive thing, and you imagine everything being great. But was there a point where when you've said, right, this is the date, this is when we've got to do it? Did you notice a bit of a change in the team, and did it suddenly feel much more real?
From when we started planning it, because before that we had no idea what to do. So when we came up with the idea, we all basically just changed and came up with what we're doing each week, like give each other a task. Yeah.
Okay, and I guess the fact you did all approach as a team is something that's going to shine through, and we're going to talk a bit about that. So, Indy, I understand that obviously you were a part of this team as well, and you had some quite specific roles which became greatly important as things progressed. And it was put to me before that maybe once you got that underway, that you then thought, well, actually, I've done that, I might want to get involved in the presenting and some of the other things. So how was that for you as a part of the process?
Yeah, I mean, like, so, I mean, at the beginning, we all kind of, like, only had, like, certain things to do, so we all went kind of down our different routes and stuff. But it was, like, when Tom and Matthew was presenting it on the Friday, and it looked like something, like, I feel like I should have been a part of. So, yeah, so I presented it on the Sunday as well, which just, like, added to, like, another thing that we'd all done. So, yeah.
And I guess that's part of confidence, isn't it? It's there's a few things. There's potentially a bit of a fear of missing out, and a big part of what the Do It project does is about just testing yourself, but not throwing yourself too far in the deep end. Although perhaps you did jump in quite a deep end on this one as well. So did you feel? You felt that in yourself, but did you see that amongst the rest of the team as well, Indy?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think obviously because Matthew and Kate presented it as well, like you could see their confidence as well. I think like all of us, like, yeah, I think it was like a good idea that we did present it. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. And Joe, so you've been working on this as a freelance key worker, is that correct? Yeah, as part of the team. So, so what was your role within this, and how did you guys approach this as a team, where it was about, well, there's so many different roles and responsibilities? How were they assigned?
Well, as for my role, I think obviously similar to Tom, it's from a Goodwin sort of point of view, it was about supporting learners and their development essentially, but also trying to keep in mind the idea of community development as we're doing this. And then in terms of a project, it became a sort of thing where it was just, we're all just pitching in to whatever needs doing, as opposed to, there were sort of assigned roles, but nothing was so set in stone that you couldn't be doing one thing one week and a different thing the next week. So it was really changing really quickly each time you were doing something. It was just, a job needs doing. Somebody's going to step up, and somebody always stepped up to do it, which was really good.
And I think that what you've just mentioned there touches on the spirit of this whole project and the work that Goodwin do and the work that Do It project done. And it's this, we hear this word co-production a real lot. I'm not always convinced people really understand what that means, and it can be used lazily as a bit of a paying lip service to the group that you're working with and going, oh yeah, we co-produced it. I don't know who wants to take this, but could you tell me a little bit more about how this was a true co-productive project, please?
And I think you're right. I think lip services has paid a lot to it. But again, Joe's about to touch on this, I think. But Joe and I have had similar journeys, you know, where it wasn't that long ago where I was a young person on a project at Goodwin. That's gone from being on a placement on a project to a support worker, and then promoted to a key worker, to a point now where, you know, I've led on this huge project, front facing, customer facing. You know, what we were representing Goodwin in a really big, meaningful way, and we were granted so much autonomy. You wouldn't believe it. You know, we were really trusted to do it, and I think that's genuine testament to the way that Goodwin operate generally, and also because it wasn't that long ago that I was in the same position. You know, I'm going to be. I'm glad to say I'm more inclined to really believe in and do my best to adhere to the principles of co-production. If I could have been trusted, and you know, if I had assets that I could give, then surely the people that I'm working with have the same. You know, I hope I never forget that. I hope I never lose that, because, you know, it's really not the people on the front line that are writing these funding bits. So you don't actually know whether that's going to be translated, you know, when the funding comes down. I'd say fortunately, I guess from Goodwin's point of view, I've been there and I've done that and gone through the process. So it's a part of my DNA, you know. And you know, the truth is, I took on a lot over the festival, but that's really because of the logistics of the thing. You know, it's really hard when you're not in the same room to pass stuff over to people. You know, I was still doing 60-hour weeks. You know, it was still a lot that I was having to do myself. But as much as I could, you know, it's about passing on. You know, one of the things I really believe is that the most responsibility that you can show there is the right amount of responsibility. I think it's good for you. You know, so I try my best to stick to that. But Joe, you might be able to touch a little bit more on this.
Yeah, so obviously I came through this with the same as the learners, just coming through the project and then jumping on this. So there were certain things that, well, I say failures that we learned from whilst I was on the project for different events that we did. I think most of the idea of sort of how many events we were doing, the fact that we all focused on this, that's something we've taken away from this. But also just the sense of like tokenism was something that we faced, my group of learners. There were times where we felt we were just sort of numbers, or, you know what I mean, we weren't co-producing all of these some of these projects that we were doing. Some of them, yes, we were definitely involved, but I think that's the nature of what we were doing at the time with so many different projects. There was no way that us group of learners could have enough time to focus and actually give any real amount of effort to all of these different projects. So now the fact that we've condensed it down and we did one project and we all focused on it, that's been sort of massive changing point for co-producing, because we've all had like responsibility for what we're doing, and it's been that I think that's how we've developed the co-planning, is everybody is responsible for something. If you don't do it, that thing doesn't get done, and therefore the festival isn't going to work as well as it could do. So I think that's a really important part about it.
Okay, thank you. So the other thing that I think that the reason why we're doing this, and thank you again for participating, is about just trying to log some of the lessons learned from that. So going through something like this, would you mind telling the viewers a little bit more about what happened, some of the highlights, some of the lessons learned, some of the, if we were doing this, we'd definitely do it differently. And I guess that could be a practical thing, but we also are very mindful of what this was like on a personal journey in terms of mental health, personal development and teamwork. So I guess anything really that you think people could learn from.
So I think one of the biggest things that I'd written down as well, I think we touched on it already, the fact that we worked as a team as opposed to, it was a lot less of Tom leading. There was obviously an element of directing, but he wasn't ever sort of dictating everything and forcing everything back. It was a proper team effort. Every idea was considered. Everything was a complete team project. And I think that made us all feel, it gave us all a lot of worth. It meant that it was, as Tom likes to say, asset-based development. So we were seen as what we can do, what our skills were, and we were used based on our skills as opposed to anything else. I think that's a really good way to work. And then also, I think something we learn is it's really hard to focus on community development when you're doing an online festival. That is, it obviously, the nature of it becomes a challenge. Now, that's something we've got to develop in the future, because we we got really excited and we ran away with it, and we made this massive online festival that is incredible and reached so many people. And I think to be fair, it did reach mostly people in north of England as we were checking the statistics. So it did sort of reach that, but it didn't feel like we were aiming for that or that we were trying for that. But we did. And then on the other side of it, obviously, mine and Tom's other goals are for development of the learners, and hopefully you'll all agree that I think that one we definitely did meet. I know personally getting to know the learners and knowing their strengths and also how they've developed. Also, I've been doing feedback sessions from this, so I know I know what they all have to say about the project, and I think they've all developed really well and come a long way from doing this project.
If you don't mind me jumping in, Joe, as we have three of the learners on us, let's stick on that point for a moment. So, Indy, from you, what are the kind of things that you've been sharing with Tom as part of this evaluation? How do you feel you've developed, and how did you feel about this once it was done? Were you able to look back and think, yeah, I'm really glad I was a part of that, and how did that feel?
Yeah, I feel like in the moment you don't kind of like realise like how far you've come, but I feel like looking back, it was nice to see like our personal journeys. So obviously, like, when I started at Goodwin, like I don't feel like I would have done something like that. So it's like nice to look back and like see that we all kind of created something like that. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic, thank you. So Katie, a similar question really. I mean, for you, when you look back at it, do you feel that you maybe changed in the way that as a person? Did it affect your confidence? Did you learn any new like practical skills that you might be able to use in the future? Sorry, Katie, just a reminder to unmute yourself, please.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it helped with my confidence a lot, because like now I'm going to be moving on into work, so it's given me the opportunity to do something I wouldn't have done, and if I hadn't done it, I probably wouldn't have got a job by now.
Well, that's a brilliant testimonial to it. So then, right? Okay, well, excellent. And do you feel that any of the skills that you have picked up there, you're going to be able to apply in your new role, or anywhere you choose to go in your career going forward?
Obviously, the confidence skills is all I can think of at the minute. Yeah.
Yeah, but confidence is an incredible skill, because you need it for the interview, you need it when you start, and you need it to grow as a person. The fact that, I mean, you don't know me, we're on here and I'm just throwing questions at you that we haven't prepared, which you're fielding well. So yeah, that's something to take from it. Matthew, you've probably worked out where we're going next as I'm heading my way around. So how about for you, when you look back on this around your own development?
Yeah, so I feel very proud of being able to do it, because I think personally for me, like I've worked in like events before, but I've never really put on an event like this. I've never been on part of something where I'm in charge of putting on an event. So being able to do something like that, and it looks like it's been very successful as well. That has given me not only confidence, but also, I guess, some ideas where maybe I want to go in my future.
Excellent. And this is it. I mean, like we get asked questions like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And until we picked up those experiences, how the heck do we know? I mean, I'm in my 40s just, and I'm still, there's still things I want to try, and I might find that I really enjoy this and thrive in this and go forward. It's only until you do these things a lot of the time that you pick it up. So just to go back to the kind of the purpose for this for a moment, there were other purposes as well, because there was a charitable element to this, and I just wondered about how that felt and how that fitted in terms of the weight of expectation for not only pulling off the event, not only getting an audience, not only making sure everybody learned, but to make sure that the charity could then go on and support its beneficiaries.
I'll jump in for this. And earlier on as well, Joe, you mentioned about you think that mostly the audience was in the north of England. Just having a look at the YouTube analytics here. Only 78.2% of people that watched it were in the UK. 7.5% were in the United States, and the rest were in different countries around the world. So we're a truly an international festival. But another interesting thing, 83% were between the ages of 13 and 34. So again, it is targeting that kind of demographic that we're after. And then like 17%, I think, were mums and dads, basically. But yeah, so I thought that was interesting to that. So yeah, you mentioned about the charitable element to it. So we were fundraising. This is another thing as well, another nice thing that came from the group. This was Sandy, who sadly isn't here with us today, but she took the responsibility of managing the alternative stage, which wasn't going to happen. And again, it's testament to what Joe was saying earlier about me not being, like a dictator, basically, because they were saying, alternative cultures aren't really involved. We need to do more on this. And then my position was, well, no, we need to make it broad. We need to have this broad appeal. But then it said, well, no, that you've got a compelling argument. Why would I continue to push against it when we can just make the festival bigger? But sorry, I'll come back to the charitable thing. So yeah, this came from Sandy. This idea that maybe we can have some social good, like an even wider positive social impact beyond the impact of us as staff and learners working on the project, giving people something entertaining to watch over a weekend, which in of itself, is valuable. But beyond that, we could maybe fundraise for something good. So, WISHH charity, they're like an independent charity that support local hospitals, and they have fundraiser. It still exists, so you can still donate to this if you're watching. They're trying to build a sensory room at Hull Royal Infirmary, and that's really to support neurodiverse children that go there, because the waiting room can be stressful, and quite often it means that they won't get seen because it's too stressful for them to wait in it. So the sensory room will really help them be seen, and obviously they need to be seen by a doctor. And we had the good sense and the foresight to make our target £500 because we thought that's attainable. We could probably do that and then feel really good when we beat it. And I mean, at the minute we're at £1,020 of that target. So I'll speak on behalf of all of us if you don't mind and say we're immensely proud of that. I mean, it's incredible. It was really nice as well throughout the festival. We were giving shout outs to everybody that donated as it was going along. And I really enjoyed that element as well. Making people feel involved intimately in it. I thought that was really good. So yeah, that was a charitable element.
Can I just mention as well on the charity thing? I know, obviously, we're talking about all the amazing things and this side of it, but in terms of the planning side of it and how we built this event, there is definitely an element that the fact that we're raising for charity opened a lot of doors for us. It's sort of saying like you're using it, but you're using it to then raise more money for them. So it's a trade-off of that, and I think it definitely meant that we could get bigger artists who wanted to help charity and do something for charity. And also it meant that we could actually pull this off with a relatively small budget, which we didn't have shed loads of money to try and put this on. So the element of having raising money for a charity does help with what you can get, who you can get, and just how big you can make the festival. And I don't think we would have made it this big if we hadn't had the charity involved. Because, you know what I mean? It's all well and good saying, do you want to come and play a gig? But people want to be paid and people deserve to be paid most of the time for what they're doing. Luckily, you're raising for a good cause, and obviously then a thank you to everybody who has done it for free and raised money for the cause. But that's how it works out.
Wonderful. Okay, well, we shared a lot of positives here, and I'm going to be that guy. So there's a lot of pluses from this. Reflecting now, were there any things that didn't quite go as well, or anything that maybe you weren't quite prepared for, or any unexpected outcomes that you think are worth sharing with others?
Can I go out on a limb? And on a limb, anyway. Can I assume that Joe's the best person to answer this? He's the one that's really been collecting the feedback. He's got a good critical eye, and I think Joe might be the best. Not quite independent, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I can do. I think first thing I'll start with, and I'll dig you in it there, Tom. Because you did to me. I think it was presenting became an issue sort of as we got to sort of day 2. You ran out of things to say, and you were very vocal about the fact that you ran out of things to say. You're not hiding this. This isn't me bringing up some deep secret. You told hundreds of people on the internet exactly this. So I think that's something that there was an issue that could be prepared more for in the future, definitely. In terms of planning the event, trying to think of my note, trying to think what everybody said without just telling everybody's secrets. But I think people wanted more sessions, because sometimes it was quite hard getting updates out to people when something had happened. Say we had, because we had a session on a Tuesday, say something happened on a Wednesday, you have to wait till Tuesday again to find out what was going on. Tom then did implement extra sessions, but that was with 2 weeks to go. And I reckon we could have done with another session in the week, starting from day 1, if you know what I mean, so that you could be updated by, say, Thursday or something, that something happened in the week. Obviously, if it happens over the weekend, it's a bit harder, but it's just a bit better for communication and opening that up so that everybody knows where we stand. I think that's all I can remember.
Well, they're really practical points, Joe, so thank you for sharing those. And I guess they are, like we said earlier on, until you do something, it's quite hard to know that. On one level, they sound obvious, but they're one of 10,000 things that you've got to consider. So if they're the ones that are being pulled up on, and it sounds like it's going pretty well to me. One of the things I wanted to ask you about collectively was about the feeling. We talked about this in the pre-meeting we had. Is you build up to something, and then you go through stress, sometimes healthy stress, sometimes it's kind of teetering on getting a little unhealthy. You pull it off, it's successful, you're getting lots and lots of positive feedback, you get the high, so you're up on the stage, and I know this wasn't a live performance, but you would have got the standing ovation, no doubt, from the audience if that was the case, and then it's done. How did that feel, and were you prepared for what, I'm not saying everybody does, but a lot of people find that quite difficult to deal with, and it's certainly something I can relate to on projects I've been involved in before.
Shall we open it up to Matthew, Indy, and Katie? Matthew, how about you first?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think how we. I think I was just relieved that it went so well, and we successfully did it. Yeah, I don't think there was any time afterwards where I look back and was disappointed or anything like that. I was just really, even mostly really happy that we managed to do such an incredible thing.
Indy and Katie, how did you guys feel about it once it was over with?
I think I don't know. I feel because you spend 8 weeks straight doing something, as soon as it's done, I didn't really know what to do with myself. I don't know. We'd spent all this time doing it, and then to see the final product, and then it's just done. And you're do you know what I mean?
Okay, thank you. And Katie, how about you?
Yes, same as Indy really. Once it was all done, I was I don't know what to do now. But yeah, found something in the end. I just kept applying for jobs.
Which sounds like that's working out well. Okay, so this so those bits of feedback there segue into another question, maybe more for Tom and for Joe. So what's next? Now you've done this, where do you go next?
Well, they want us to do another one for the winter. So I don't, can you change all of your branding on Facebook and that? I don't know. There's another hurdle we'll have to figure out. But yeah, I mean, the next thing I think for me and Joe and for any of the team that I'll still be about by this point, because I'm really hopeful that Indy will be joining the Youth Working Community Development degree really shortly. Kate is moving into work. And Matthew, again, you know, your placement will be ending soon. Sandy has moved into work. So yeah, and that's good because that means we've done our job. But also it'd be really useful to have the feedback because basically what we need to do now is structure it. Now that we've been through it haphazardly, chaotically, we need to structure it better because my job isn't to be Mark Page or Louise Yates. It's to support young people and to get back into employment. So I need to be able to balance leading on putting on a festival and the rest of that. So yeah, I think in particular for me and Joe, it's a lot of honest reflection, and I open myself up to it a lot because it's important that the people we work with get the most meaningful experience that they can to me. But also, it's the practicalities of it. So Joe touches on the presenting stuff. I'd be talking sometimes. I'd be having to talk for 7 minutes, and then we'd have a segment, and then while the segment's going on, I'm like, "What am I going to talk about? Like, you've got to give me ideas because shut up and give me ideas. Unless you're going to give me ideas, I need you to be quiet." And it was wild, particularly on the Saturday. I was really losing my head because I hadn't prepared properly. So yeah, it's stuff like that we need to iron out. But ultimately, I think it's something that we can be proud of. Certainly, I am. The next thing is to plan for the next one. I think it'd be silly not to build on the momentum of it. And again, thank you for the opportunity to do this because that's part of keeping that momentum. But yeah, Joe, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I know he's just getting to the next one. That's what we've been. Obviously, previously we've been doing in-person events and they're sort of fairly regular. So it is just keeping up that momentum with the next lot of learners and continuing their development. I do think it's good to remember that it was, I think, Katie's idea to do festival. Can't remember. It was a learner's idea to do what we did, to put on an event. It was Katie's idea to put on a charity event. That's what. Yeah. So I think it's key to remember that this was a learner's idea. This is always a learner's idea, and the next one also should be a learner's idea. You know what I mean? Whether I don't want to get sort of. We've been given a lot of freedom here, and I don't want to have that taken away because of how well we've done with this festival. You know what I mean? Of course, it'd be amazing to do a winter version exactly of this, but if the learners aren't interested, we've got to go with the learners. We've just got to roll with whatever shows up. So obviously, yes, we will do a lot of planning, but I get that might all go kaputs when the learners show up and they want to do something completely different. They want to do like a Morris dancing competition online. I don't know. You know what I mean? They could do anything. Yeah.
And I think really when I say about us doing another one, it really is in the same way that we've always done events management. So this is the remit. We're going to put on an event.
Yeah.
What do we do? And it's only because of the current circumstances and the fact that we can have an international reach when we do it online. This is the thing. Because actually, regardless of whether there's a pandemic, people watch stuff online, they stream stuff online. Totally. So I think you're completely right. One of the big things, and I'm glad you're on the same page, Joe, because not necessarily everybody in community development is, But it's not having the ego. It's not about setting it. It's about going to where people are, finding out what they want, and then creating something around it. So yeah, we're on the same page with that. We'll do something else. We'll do another one. But the way it looks, you know, the purpose, all of that sort of stuff, that'll develop as we work with different people. But yeah, I completely agree.
Brilliant. Well, we've kind of come back round to where we started in the discussion there around the principles of co-production. So thank you. Well, congratulations, guys, on a great event. I dipped in and out of it, and I know a few other people were involved, and everybody speaks about it being a positive experience. So well done, and thank you for doing this. I mean, this we're not going to reach the scales of your audience during the Shutdown Fest, but this will go to people who are involved in related projects who may be able to take from this, and hopefully it'll help them do a little bit better, having had the benefit of your shared wisdom. So if anybody, this opportunity, anybody got anything to add, any key takeaway points for anybody watching this to summarise?
I do, for sure. If you're watching this and you're thinking about doing something similar, be ambitious and be bold. Don't think about your limitations. Think about what you might be able to do. You know, you've always got Google. You can always research, and you know, be ambitious, be overly ambitious, and then get knocked back and be resilient. Just try it. Just do it. It's your only opportunity at life, and you could do something really meaningful. Just try it.
I think adding on to that, use the momentum of what you're doing to build it bigger. So use every step, every new person you get, use that to reach a new platform, reach new people, and develop it further. And just it will snowball into something big, far bigger than you ever expected it to be.
I'm going to put you all on the spot, guys. Heads up, Indy.
Yeah, kind of. I think it's something you have to be like really like tolerant about as well, because obviously you're like gonna be involved with like a lot of different people. Obviously everyone's got lives, so you kind of have to work around them as well as working around the full thing, which is sometimes, I don't know, like sometimes it's harder to do that, but in the end, you know, all works out. So.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, thank you. Katie?
All I've really got to say is if you're looking for something to do or want to get into work or anything, just do it.
That's like an awesome tagline there. Big call to action. We'll make sure that we've got the link off to the Do It project when we publish this. And finally, Matthew, what would you like to share as a key takeaway point?
Just personally, it's been very inspirational. I think it's an inspirational thing to do, and working with Katie, Indy, Tom, Joe, and all the others who have worked here has been very inspirational. And I know, and also that I've inspired other people as well. I think that's just amazing. And also, just to finish off, I just have to say it's been real nice.
Well, do you know what, Matthew? That's a perfect way to end. So thank you, Matthew, Katie, Indy, Joe, and Tom. I've been John Gilbert. This has been the Socially Good Talks, and thank you for watching.